I'm so intrigued that you taught yourself neuroscience, and everything you're sharing here are from insights that you figured out on your own. Was science always a passion of yours? No, not at all. Science was always my toughest subject. I always needed a tutor. I was an English major. I love the arts. I love poetry. I love writing and playing music. I sang, I played guitar, I wrote books and blogs. English was always my passion. Words were always my love. The only time I was ever intrigued in science was algebra and chemistry, but that was just because I got to use the alphabet in math equations, and incorporating English with the sciencey math subjects was like the crossing points of like, okay, I can do this. But science was never ever my thing. Science was always the hardest topic in the world for me to even be interested in, much less understand. Wait, how did you teach yourself neuroscience then, when you couldn't even create conscious explicit memories? It's extraordinarily profound what the human spirit can muster when life literally depends on it. I was given the choice to figure out what was happening inside of my brain and my body and heal it on my own, or completely give up on my own existence. I am extraordinarily grateful that the fire within me has always burned brighter than the fire around me. I'm here today with Kristin Windsor, who just completed a 4-year case study after many, many years of implicit health challenges that were ineffectively addressed by medical professionals across multiple states. Thank you so much for taking time to be here, Kristin Windsor. It is an honor to connect with you. Thank you so much for having me. It is such a blessed opportunity, such a divine privilege to be here and get to share my work. So thank you so much for having me and creating this space for me. What did you learn during your case studies, or what were some conclusions that they led to? Yeah, so my research led to several new discoveries, and it was a combination of learning about neuroscience, studying my experiences, and slowly drawing some new connections. And so the conclusions I came to were not things I directly learned from other sources. They were new things that I kind of figured out by piecing together my experience in relation to what I was learning from neuroscience. So my 11th discovery or thesis statement or conclusion for my case studies is that consciousness and parts of self-essence are a completely different, distinct, and separate energetic component of the human experience from brain-body wiring. During my case studies, I reached a point towards the end of 2019. I was experiencing a dissociative blackout. So it was over a year into my daily self-hypnosis sessions as I've been recording my observations and articulating my indescribable experiences, even when I was losing some level of consciousness, like during a dissociative blackout. So I'd gotten pretty good at observing my inner realities and articulating them externally, even though I couldn't actually hear what I was saying. I'd have to go back and rewatch the videos to even know what I'd said, because I was inside of my brain and my body without any presence outside. So I couldn't really hear my own voice as I recorded these things. But I reached a point towards the end of 2019, and I was in this dissociative blackout, and I'm, articulating what I'm experiencing as I'm, internally observing what's happening. And there was like this really, really, really clear, obvious distinction where I witnessed and recognized my neurobiological activity as there was different energies of neural wiring. Okay, I can tell that's activation of a memory from this time period of my life. That's the energy of this element of regulation. Like I could recognize and witness these distinct elements of my neural activity. There's this entirely separate energetic essence that was flowing through it all and experiencing it. So there were these energies creating experience, and then there was this separate energy that was experiencing it, and they were not the same thing. There was all of this neural activity within my brain and my body, and that's where this miraculous vessel was stimulating experience in relation to processing abstract stimulus based on the data that's stored to create a sense of personal reality within the immediate moment. But then the energetic essence of self that was experiencing it was a completely distinct energetic component within my neurobiological applications of consciousness. And it was very, very clear. I first-handedly witnessed my own consciousness existing and operating independently of my neural activity. My 11th thesis statement is that consciousness exists and operates independently of neurobiological applications. And this opens a lot of doors for healing, because if consciousness can unite within itself, then the energy of self-essence has the power to rewire neural activity. If the self is the neural activity, then there's no power within it. But if the self is its own independent essence, then it has power to adjust neural wiring, because it is not the same thing as it. Like a house cannot remodel itself, for example, but if there's people living in the house, then the people could remodel the house. It's kind of like that in a way. Our brain doesn't know how to consciously rewire itself. It unconsciously rewires itself in every moment of every day. Like this conversation right here is rewiring both of our brains. But the brain-body system does not know how to consciously, intentionally, mindfully, willfully rewire itself in a particular way. But we are the essence of self. We are the essence of consciousness within the house of our brain and our body. And because we are distinct from it, we have power to influence this construction. So we are the people within the house who have power to remodel the house. We are not the house. We are the people inside who have power to adjust the way that the house is constructed. We have power to rewire our own brain and body as we unite these aspects of consciousness within our beings. Consciousness especially possesses power to manually modulate internal wiring within the neural data of the unconscious mind and within the integrative patterns and regulatory protocols of the unconscious body when the observational self is clearly and consistently distinguished from the experiential self. From that space, the observational self then helps distinguish the experiential self from the neural data, creating automated sensations of self and life, or translating abstract experience into personal experience. We'll kind of explore these concepts briefly, and then you can actually find out so much more mega magics in my book, Liberated Consciousness. I dive into these topics in some great detailed dynamic depth, so please do explore that healing journey opportunity. The first step in this process is distinguishing the observational self from the experiential self. Imagine a beach, and on this beach is a beacon building, which is kind of somewhere in between a lighthouse and a watchtower. So you got this beacon building on the beach, okay? In the beacon building, there's 3 people. They're up here and they're at the top of the beacon building. And from that space at the very top of the beacon building, they can look out and see everything happening across the whole beach. Okay, they've got kind of this vantage point and they can look down and they can see the people on the sidewalk, the people on the beach, the people in the water, all the people in all the spaces doing all the things on all corners of the beach. Up there, though, they're not having an immediate sense of personal experience. They're not on the beach. They're not playing volleyball. They're not surfing. They're not walking the dog on the sidewalk. They're not having a personal experience. They are just sitting up there looking out at the beach. Their only personal experience is being an observer to others in experience. They don't have a personal sense of experience. Their experience is just observing. And it's a very objective space of observation. So these three people sitting up in the beacon building represent our observational self. The observational self possesses 4 unique superpowers, amplifying personal power in profound ways. Abilities for objective observation, mindful presence, conscious response, and intentional choice. And these are unique superpowers that the experiential self does not have neurobiological access to. Only the observational self can get to these abilities because of the way that this aspect of self, or these aspects of self, experience neurobiological structures within the brain-body system. So you got this beach, right? And there's this beacon building, and you got about 3 people, and they're hanging out up here, and they're not having a personal experience. They're just observing and responding to the experiences of other people. Then you've got this beautiful, expansive beachfront, okay? You got the beautiful, expansive beachfront, and you got like 2,000 people. This is like a really busy beach. It's like a really busy beach. So you got people out in the water, and they're swimming and they're surfing. There's all kinds of activities going out in the water. The water is a busy place with lots of people doing lots of cool stuff. And then you got lots of people on the part of the beach that's close to the water, and they're building sand castles, and they're tanning, and they're collecting seashells, and they're doing all kinds of stuff. And then you got people kind of farther away on the beach from the water, and they're playing volleyball, and they've got a campfire, and they're working on their laptop, and they're reading a book, and they're playing a game with their kids, and they're walking their dog, and they're playing fetch with their dog. And then you've got the people who are up on the sidewalk, and they're not quite on the beach, but they're still hanging out and enjoying those beach vibes, and they're walking, and they're talking with their friends, and they're doing all of this stuff, okay? And you've got all of this activity going on with thousands of people, each having their own experience. This represents parts of consciousness who are experiencing personal life both within and beyond awareness. There's a lot of activity going on in our brain and our body beyond what we can consciously get to. So there's all kinds of stuff going on with our experiential self. The observational self has a unique ability to observe and respond to particulars encountered by the experiential self. Okay, so let's say, for example, someone comes running in from swimming in the ocean and they're just screaming their bloody head off. They're screaming at the top of their lungs, right? They come in, they got stung by a jellyfish while they were swimming. Like, oh goodness, they got stung by a jellyfish, right? So this person comes running and screaming from the ocean. That person in that moment is not going to have a big ability to respond to their experience with conscious presence and objective perspective and a very intentional and mindful choice. They're in the thick of it. They're feeling the pain. The jellyfish stung them, man. So they're in the thick of it. They're feeling the intensity of the personal experience firsthand. They are in the middle of that intensity. But if someone in the beacon building sees this, then they can come down very calm, very collected, very put together, distinct from the experience, but connected with it. And they come down with this super calm composure, and they're like, what's going on? How can I help you? I'm here for you. I've got you. What's happening? Can you describe it? I'm here to help. I'm here to do anything and everything I can do to help you through this. You're not alone. I'm here for you, And then the observational self can respond to the experiential self because they're not the same aspect aspect of consciousness. If this person was feeling the intensity of the jellyfish sting, then there wouldn't be a lot of chance to help. And similarly, if the person stayed up in the beacon building and didn't respond to this person feeling pain from the jellyfish sting, there also wouldn't be an ability to help. This relates to the spectrum of self-attunement I've created. And you can find out more about this in my book, Liberated Consciousness. The objective is self-attunement, where there's distinction and connection. You are not the experiential self. You're distinct from it as the observational self, but you're also connected. You're not just up there like, okay, someone's screaming. It happens all the time, man. It's whatever. It's just another day here at the beacon building, man. Like, that guy can figure it out himself, you know. But you're also not that person who's in the pain and first-handedly experience the thick of it. There's distinction and connection with the observational self and the experiential self. So that's kind of the first step of this whole thing, is distinguishing those aspects and being grounded in the observational self, where there's distinction and connection with these parts of consciousness. From that space, once this reality is internally established, then, this is where things get really cool, then consciousness can unite and have direct influence over neurobiological wiring. So what happens while moving through our everyday moments is that parts of consciousness experience neural projections beyond awareness, and then portions of that are translated into a sense of conscious experience. But parts of consciousness are not the neural wiring, but they don't know that. As the observational self steps into its power and extends a helping hand to the experiential self, consciousness can unite in this connection distinct from automated styles of personal experience coming from the outside world, colliding with neural activations to generate these particulars of personal reality. And then consciousness is just this raw, miraculous, energetic essence of self that has influence over all of the experience, all aspects of life, all avenues of neural data, all memories past and presently occurring, all styles of integrative patterns and regulatory protocols unconsciously unfolding throughout the brain-body system, because they're not the same thing. My parts of consciousness, for example, are not memories from the past 27 years. But they do experience projections of that neural data. My consciousness unites and then rewires those projections or that neural data so that my essence has power to choose how those projections unfold. No matter what the experiences are, my consciousness can unite, rewire the neural data that's storing all of these years of experience, and then the way that projections automatically unfold in relation to automated sensations of personal reality as external vibrational signals activate this internal neural data and generate a sense of personal reality, then my aspects of self-essence have power to influence that. It's important to have this distinction and connection, though. While parts of consciousness are not any aspect of the experience or the neural wiring, they are personally, first-handedly experiencing that. So it's this very, very specific energetic process of achieving this self-attunement where there can be distinction and connection. As the observational self connects with the experiential self, consciousness and this miraculous essence of self has complete authority to influence personal experience, including all the neural data from all the years of all of life. And this is arguably the greatest superpower in the world. You can find out more about reclaiming personal power in my book, Liberated Consciousness. Another important element of consciousness existing and operating independently of neurobiological activity or brain-body wiring is the vibrational frequencies that they hold or carry. Consciousness is an energetic vibration of love carrying very high frequencies. Brain-body wiring depends on attachment well-being. And if there are any moments of life without attachment need fulfillment, then regions of neural data carry low vibrations of love that can feel like fear. Feeling worried, as one of infinite examples, stems from neural activity created during past moments without a felt sense of safety, security, protection, and provision within the second attachment system. And so when there are moments of unfulfilled attachment needs, which happens for every human on the planet at some point. Some people may have a deeper degree of unfulfilled attachment needs, but every human on the planet has at least one portion of neural wiring stemming from a moment of unfulfilled attachment needs. So neurobiological wiring carries a lower vibrational frequency than consciousness does. But here's the really good news. Higher vibrations have influential power over lower vibrations, which means that the love of consciousness, because consciousness is a non-physical, energetic essence of pure, unconditional love, that is the vibrational truth of its beingness. If you were to take consciousness out of brain-body wiring, and consciousness is just experiencing consciousness, without neurobiological activity or neural projections, it would be this pure, raw, energetic essence of love. There would be no fear, no worry, no panic, no loneliness, no sadness, no anything other than sensations that look and feel like love. Okay, consciousness without neural wiring is this raw, energetic essence that is vibrating at the highest frequencies of love. That is the vibrational truth of the beingness of consciousness. Brain-body wiring, however, holds fear-based data because it's all about survival. And we're still evolving. And I do believe we'll get to a place where neurobiological programs hold higher frequencies of love rather than a lot of low frequencies that can feel like fear. But at this stage of our evolution as a human species, we're still at a point where brain-body wiring holds a lot of fear-based sensations. So consciousness is love, brain-body wiring is rooted in survival that can feel like fear. But consciousness is distinct and independent from brain-body activity. Brain-body activity is unconscious, but consciousness has the power to be conscious of itself and of its power. And so because consciousness vibrates at a higher frequency of love than brain-body wiring, the power of consciousness, once it's harnessed, can transmute energetic frequencies within brain-body wiring, vibrating neural activity into higher frequencies that affect our energetic aura. So consciousness vibrates at a high frequency, and once it is distinguished from brain-body activity, then it has power to transform this. But as long as consciousness thinks that it is the person who is the brain-body wiring, and there's this sensation of blending or over-identifying with all of it, then it doesn't have that power. It doesn't have access to the power that it already possesses. It doesn't have conscious awareness of its infinite power. So once consciousness is distinguished, then the infinite power and the high frequencies of this beingness can influence the lower frequencies stemming from fear-based survival responses of neural activity developed during moments of unfulfilled attachment needs. And daily self-love practices allow the power of consciousness to transmute energies of neurobiological programs so that the entire frequency of experience raises into higher vibrations. For example, experiencing joy and ecstasy is a higher vibration of experience than experiencing depression. Okay, so once the power of consciousness understands that it is a high vibration of love, and it is independent and distinct from automated activity of brain-body wiring, then it has more power to influence these realities and gradually transform personal experience from the inside out. In conclusion, my 11th thesis statement is that consciousness is an independent, energetic essence that exists and operates autonomously of neurobiological activity or brain-body wiring. And applying these insights along any type of healing journey through life enables the power of consciousness to transform automated styles of personal experience by directly influencing styles of brain-body wiring and activity. My 12th thesis statement is that every human body experiences life with an infinite number of parts of consciousness, trillions of subconscious and unconscious parts, and that the conscious mind only has access to approximately 0.02% of what's actually occurring throughout the brain-body systems within personal realities. Originally, my research led me to theories presented by other people that the conscious mind has access to approximately 5% of internal operations. My explorations revealed that there is no way that we could possibly have access to that much of what's actually occurring. And the route to discovering this was indescribably fascinating and will forever intrigue and baffle my mind now that I am lucid to observe it. For 3 years, I could not create new conscious explicit memories. During that time, I experienced life through what I had described as an inside-out consciousness. A right-side-in consciousness is where you're conscious of a very small portion of what's happening and you're instinctively oriented with reality in a very traditional fashion. An inside-out consciousness experiences all the different subconscious and unconscious styles of neural activity without direct orientation to a traditional sense of time and space. While I could not access the present moment in any manner of the word, I could not feel my feet on the ground. I could not feel the air on my skin. I could not feel a sense of self. I could not feel a sense of orientation with my surroundings. I could not feel the instinctive distinguishment between my physical body and the walls that were around me. There was literally no access to grounded presence in the immediacy of unfolding moments. There was, however, complete access to all unconscious, implicit neural projections and neurobiological activity. There were states of experience where I first-handedly experienced the liquid flowing through my ear canal. Like unconscious things that are constantly happening were suddenly becoming conscious. And then I was also experiencing neural projections in a conscious way. For example, I would put on a shirt, and instead of being in the present moment where I am a person putting on a piece of clothing, I would experience every neural projection from every piece of implicit data generated from every single experience where I had ever put on that shirt. And so there would be hundreds, if not thousands, of neural activations, and it was like this constant bombarding collage. And neural projections happen in nanoseconds. Like our conscious experience understands orientation of time in relation to seconds, minutes, hours, days. Unconscious activity is nanosecond, millisecond, nanosecond, millisecond. That's the reality of unconscious neural activity. A second had flown by and I'd already experienced like 100,000 neural projections, basically. And it was not any form of psychosis or anything like that. It was a very unique neurobiological occurrence because of an inside-out consciousness where dissociation was allowing me to have amplification of internal neural activity with a decreased instinctive ability to connect with the immediacy of external reality, because my brain and my body were miraculously adapting to survive incomprehensibly intense traumatic stress. So I would put on a shirt and my body would remember every time I'd ever put on that shirt and share that information with my parts of consciousness. I couldn't feel myself putting on that shirt in the present moment, but I could feel every other moment of experience where I'd ever put on that shirt. And this happened with every type of stimulus. If I saw something, then I wasn't seeing something in the present moment. I was seeing neural projections from every moment of my entire life where I had ever seen that thing or something like that thing. Because memories are all about association, and they're all about providing unconscious navigation. They're not neat categorical boxes, and they're not about storing the past. And so I was first-handedly experiencing these neural projections from years and years of memories as they provided this navigation through life, but I wasn't a person in the moment. I was these energetic aspects of self experiencing millions of neural projections. And so I had this very unique opportunity to explore the deeper hidden realms of the unconscious mind. I believe that every body lives with trillions of parts of consciousness. Subconscious parts experience neural projections from memory data in relation to attachment well-being. Unconscious parts experience the raw, abstract, energetic flows throughout the brain and the body. So a subconscious part might experience the neural projections from every time a shirt was put on. For example, unconscious parts might unconsciously feel the muscles that are engaging and the blood that's flowing and the hormones and neurotransmitters that are being released through the pineal gland and the activation and deactivation of certain brain regions and stuff. So unconscious parts experience the very raw, abstract brain-body system deep within the unconsciousness, and then subconscious parts first-handedly experience neural projections as memory data provides unconscious navigation regarding self and life in relation to various associations stored throughout hundreds of trillions of neural networks that have been sculpted through experience, and the filing of that is all dependent on the well-being of attachment systems. My 12th thesis statement is that every human body experiences life through an infinite number of subconscious and unconscious parts, trillions of parts of consciousness, each having a distinct encounter of neurobiological activity, and that the conscious mind, the conscious self, only has access to approximately 0.02% of this internal activity. Attuning with these hidden realities profoundly expands personal power and transformative healing potentials along any journey through life. My 13th discovery or conclusion from my case study work was that the two brain hemispheres can have different experiences of consciousness when the brain-body system is experiencing itself through unique neurodevelopment, such as when adverse experiences or traumatic stress during early life disrupt neurodevelopment. When this happens, the left brain hemisphere will experience things with complete access to physicality and no access to energy, which means there's no emotions, everything's point blank and factual, there's just the physical world and that's it. When the right brain is engaging, everything is energy and there is no physicality. Everything is energy. You can see light waves, but you can't see walls. You can feel the energetic sense of being, but there's no physical sense of being. You can perceive emotions within you and within others, but you can't experience the distinction between energetic bodies. The left and the right brain hemisphere can have their own different experiences of consciousness, and the left brain hemisphere understands physicality but not energy, and the right brain hemisphere understands energy but not physicality. I recorded several hundreds of hours of video observations during my case study work, especially focusing on how I was noticing activity in my two brain hemispheres that was operating very independently of one another. You can find some of these recordings at youtube.com/Kristin Chronicles, and you can explore even greater expanses of my case study work from all of the years at patreon.com/Artistry of Existence. The files go back all the way to the beginning of 2018. My 14th thesis statement or conclusion and discovery from these case studies is that loving presence has the energetic power to rewire unconscious neural data. Loving presence automatically rewires implicit neural data and various regulatory protocols that it's connected with. In each moment of every day, implicit neural wiring is engaging to contribute to the interpretation of self within experience, or the experiences of self and life. In every moment, implicit neural wiring is unconsciously being activated to interpret immediate reality. We understand our here and now and the potentials of the nows to come in relation to unconscious memories. Every time this neural wiring engages, it is being rewired. That means that each moment of every day is rewiring implicit neural data gathered during past moments, or implicit memories unconsciously engaging. When there is a moment of loving presence, and that means being grounded in the present moment and being connected with the self through any energy of love, which could be patience or compassion or gentleness, or really any energy that is of love. When we are grounded in our bodies in the present moment and present with ourselves with love, then the neural data that's being unconsciously activated and covertly rewired makes new neural connections to the present moment in a high vibration of neural connectivity because of fulfilled attachment needs. Attachment well-being affects connectivity within implicit memory data, right? So when we have a moment of love, then the attachment needs are fulfilled energetically. It's a sensationally felt feeling of love within our unconscious body-mind. When we are present, then the data from before connects with the new data in the now. And so then there's high vibrational connections between past data and current data, and then there's improved neural connectivity and energetic flows and improved regulation within the unconscious brain-body protocols. The loving presence literally rewires implicit memory data beyond all awareness. And so, for example, if I make a cup of tea and I'm being present with every moment of it, with a gentleness to my inner being, each moment, every nanosecond of that loving presence is rewiring neural data that's being unconsciously activated and covertly being rewired. Every time we interject loving presence, we interject high vibrational energies of consciousness into unconscious implicit memories and neural wiring. When we're moving through our moments, a lot of what we do is unconscious. 80% of decision making unconsciously comes from implicit procedural memories. And so, for example, while you're washing the dishes, most of this process is going to be muscle memory. You're not necessarily going to be like, okay, hand go this way, now hand go this way, now hand go this way. And because it's mostly muscle memory, we often don't have complete conscious presence. We kind of tune out and we get it done, right? We let our bodies kind of do the work and our mind's like doing whatever it wants to do. But if we spend time investing in conscious presence, if we are consciously connecting with our bodies in the immediate moment with an intention of love, an attention towards presence, intention of love, then we have power to rewire unconscious implicit neural data and these unconscious memories even without directly accessing them. And each moment, this data is being activated and being reconstructed. We can't get there. That's unconscious. It's completely unconscious. We can't get there if we try in the immediacy of things just through our conscious intentionality. But if we have intentions of love and attention towards presence, then we are directly influencing how this neural data becomes reconstructed. And then there's able to be new neural connections that improve energetic flows within the unconscious mind and improve regulatory protocols within the unconscious body. And so when we prioritize loving presence, we actually expand our implicit health in a very profound way. For example, while we're walking, a lot of times we're just walking. We're going from point A to point B. But what happens when you pause and slow down and you consciously feel every step you take? You consciously feel your right foot reach impact with the ground. You consciously feel your leg lift. You consciously feel this foot on the ground, and you consciously feel the contact and the pressure that it makes as your body weight is being supported in this posture, etc. Every moment that loving presence is interjected, implicit neural wiring is making new connections. And this happens in nanoseconds. So even if you spend 5 minutes in loving presence where you just slow down and you're just super, 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 super present with gentleness to your being, that's rewiring a whole bunch of neural data because every nanosecond is rewiring. It's happening faster than seconds. It's happening more rapidly than our conscious mind can comprehend. For example, if you are washing your hands and you might see some bubbles formulating, instead of just going and washing your hands, if you slow down and you look at your hands and you study the different lines on your hands and you look at the bubbles and you look at the little rainbows in the bubbles and you look at the bubbles and you slow down and you focus on your breath, every moment that you're doing that and engaging with that, it is rewiring unconscious neural data or implicit memories that are being activated beyond awareness. And every activation is unconsciously rewiring them and adjusting the associations made in this miraculous unconsciousness. So loving presence rewires the unconscious body-mind in a profound way. Loving presence is also powerful because it is the opposite of any energies that may provoke an implicit battle. Like, what's the opposite of dissociation? Loving presence. Dissociation involves energies of fear that are being elsewhere, right? So the opposite of dissociation is loving presence. And so to heal dissociation, you focus on loving presence. What's the opposite of anxiety? Anxiety is a fear-based energy that's trying to be elsewhere, being somewhere else. The opposite of anxiety is loving presence. And so to heal energies of anxiety, you expand energies of loving presence. What's the opposite of rage? Loving presence. And so to heal energies of rage, you prioritize energies of loving presence because what you focus on grows. And so if you focus on the problem that you want to heal, then you're growing the problem. Instead, you focus on the energy that would have a great replacement for that. All these different styles of implicit battles, anxiety, dissociation, rage, and dozens of other implicit battles stem from specific styles of neural activity. And so every moment of loving presence is rewiring that neural data and transmuting the underlying causality of these sensations. Loving presence can also help rewire specific regions of neural data. For example, when an implicit health challenge becomes unconsciously activated based on implicit neural activity, as vibrational signals are processed in association of memories connected with attachment well-being that affect brain-body protocols, redirecting away from the automated sensations towards loving presence helps the underlying neural wiring achieve new neural connectivity. For example, when experiencing a compulsion, instead of acting on the compulsion, redirecting towards loving presence helps rewire the data that's creating that compulsion. And this may begin by establishing loving presence during the compulsion, gradually expanding the gap between stimulus and response. And once there's more power, then redirecting away from the compulsion towards loving presence. It might be impossible to just go straight to loving presence and completely say no to the compulsion as it comes up because of neural wiring. But when loving presence is interjected during the compulsion with very conscious intentionality, then gradually there will be more abilities to redirect away from the compulsion towards loving presence. And every moment of redirection is creating new neural connections that help transform the underlying causality of the compulsion. When encountering implicit health challenges, it's not the superficial battles that are the issue, it's the neural wiring generating them. And redirecting away from automated thoughts and feelings towards any element of loving presence helps rewire the neural data that's behind all of these undesirable experiences. You can find out more about this in my book, Liberated Consciousness. Among the vast expanses of information, I share a chart that shows a dozen specific types of internal responses to automated neural activity and how those different types of responses energetically feed that neural data to grow its existing data or help deactivate it and transform it. So you can find out more in my book, Liberated Consciousness. Another profound insight about the healing power of loving presence is that in every moment, in every nanosecond, there are hundreds, if not trillions, of neural activations unfolding beyond awareness in relation to styles of vibrational signals. For example, what we see in central vision and peripheral vision are activating neural intel that has various associations with what is being seen. And that information is being projected onto realities of parts of consciousness. And so if there's any sense of disconnectivity within neural data from any moment of life where there was one or more attachment need that was not completely fulfilled, then that neural data is being activated by vibrational signals and impacting realities of subconscious parts beyond direct and immediate awareness. When we can recognize this hidden reality of subconscious activity and apply the power of loving presence, then we can rewire that neural data even though we can't get to it consciously. When there is a moment of loving presence and the conscious self can clearly establish the newness of this moment, then any incomplete experiences stored in neural data affecting subconscious realities can expand in neural connectivity and gradually achieve healing resolution. Being present in this moment and establishing the consciousness who was there is now here. Even without knowing what neural activations are subconsciously occurring, it can help bring relief for parts of self-essence, and it can actually amplify unconscious regulation. These practices help the autonomic nervous system have a greater sense of regulation and unconscious safety. And then parts of consciousness are not stranded to experience neural projections. They're welcomed home into the present moment with love. And all of this was happening beyond awareness. But when we establish conscious presence with love, when we're here in loving presence, and the conscious self just randomly, I'm talking randomly, you don't even need to know what's happening subconsciously or unconsciously. Establish the loving presence and randomly just say, the consciousness who was there is now here. Because I guarantee you, in every single moment, there's activations of neural data. And there's always some moment of life where there wasn't one need completely fulfilled. There's always some region of neural data trying to gain neural connectivity that can't instinctively get there. That's just part of the human experience at this point in our evolution. And so if we establish that loving presence and just randomly say the consciousness who was there is now here, parts of self-essence shift from experiencing unconscious neural projections and covert dysregulation. They come home to the present moment with love. The neural data achieves new neural connectivity, and regulatory patterns within the brain-body system amplify their unconscious well-being. And just because of a moment of saying, I am present with love, I'm here, I can feel the sun on my face, I can feel the air on my skin, the consciousness who was there is here now. And everything's okay. Even without knowing what's happening in the background. You don't even need to know that. Just establishing that can have all of these profound health benefits. And you can find out more about this concept in my book, Liberated Consciousness. There's a really, really powerful practice that I call RARE. It's an acronym. It's a 4-step process, RAER. It's a 4-step process to rewire implicit memory data even without getting to it directly. It's very powerful and has expansive healing potentials. So stay tuned and find out more about this concept in my book, Liberated Consciousness. Among the infinite ways to practice loving presence are through application of healing journey mantras or unique styles of affirmations. Mantras help direct internal energy through intention and attention, which is where our power is. That's how the power of consciousness can influence neural wiring. Intention and attention, or the conscious directing of internal energy. Applying the energies of mantras to guide how we move through our moments gives us a lot of power along our healing journeys through life. There are 2 mantras that I specifically use to help with loving presence, and their power has proved so beneficial for every day of experience, no matter what the experience is. The first one is, I am the presence of my breath. I am the love of my heartbeat. And nothing else has anything to do with who I am. Or, I am the presence of my breath. I am the love of my heartbeat. And that is all I ever want or need to be. When we focus on our identity being this beingness that is here, then we have more power to respond to experience. And it keeps us from over-identifying with other things and helps guide us towards loving presence. As we connect with ourselves through unfolding experiences, we have a lot more power within who we are and how we interact with reality. And that energy affects our neural wiring, which influences how we instinctively experience unfolding realities in the future. The second mantra that I found especially useful for practicing loving presence is, I am only here, it is only now, and there is only love. I am only here, it is only now, and there is only love. I am only here. It is only now. And there is only love. Having a mantra like this to guide our intention and attention helps consciousness rally to loving presence and positively impact our neurobiological activity, including the filing of experiential elements and regulation throughout all the different unique systems. In every moment that our brain and our body can feel fully present in the now with any energy of love, like patience or peace or kindness or compassion, the brain and the body will understand how to regulate itself more effectively. And every moment of increased regulation helps adjust the automated protocols that will impact future moments of regulation. And it adjusts the implicit neural connectivity regarding how implicit memory data is providing navigation regarding our sense of self and interpretations of reality. When loving presence is continually prioritized, there holds the potential for complete brain-body transformation. Thesis statement number 15. Woohoo! Healing implicit battles, especially for trauma recovery, entails expanding neural connectivity while creating new implicit memories in relation to fulfilled attachment needs. So let me break these pieces down for you. The first one is expanding neural connectivity. What happens in these types of unique experiences during implicit battles or any styles of trauma recovery is that there's different things happening in the brain and the body because neural data is not able to effectively connect, collaborate, and communicate. Basically, there might be miscommunications between the brain hemispheres. There might be miscommunications between the forebrain and the hindbrain. There might be miscommunications throughout the autonomic nervous system, the enteric nervous system, the central nervous system, the somatic nervous system. There might be miscommunication and dysfunction within the cranial nerves. There's all these different complex features going on, and it has to do with unconscious energies not having the opportunity to effectively collaborate and communicate, but they really, really want to. All our different systems just want to be friends with each other. Like my left and right brain hemisphere just want to like hang out together. But if they don't have the chance to naturally do that because of how the unconscious brain is wired, then it might create these unique experiences that pose some health challenges. So the first aspect of this healing is expanding neural connectivity. And this can be done in an infinite myriad of ways. But the important part is to know the intention. If we approach a healing modality without a clear neuroscientific backing about what the goal is, then it might not lead to the healing results that are desired. And so it's important to have clarity on what the healing application is actually trying to achieve. You're not just trying to reduce a symptom. That should never be the healing priority. Instead, it should be addressing the underlying causality of the battle and or developing a new way of experiencing self and life. You want to focus on what's actually being transformed, the brain-body wiring and these desired experiences rather than just the experience that's undesired. So it's important to address the neural wiring creating these unique experiences and potentially posing health challenges. Expanding neural connectivity might be helping parts experience more of the brain. There might be an aspect of self that can only feel sadness. And so the goal there would be to help them feel anger, just to expand their neural connectivity in relation to how brain-body wiring is creating their unique experiences of self and life. If you have an aspect of consciousness that's angry all the time, you want to help them experience a sense of sadness. By widening and broadening these internal sensations of experience, you are expanding neural connectivity. Expanding neural connectivity might be making connections between memories from a while ago and more recent experiences and growing neural connectivity in that way. Expanding neural connectivity might be improving balance between the brain hemispheres, which can be done through physical activities, not just therapeutic endeavors. There's an infinite myriad of ways to expand neural connectivity, but the main aspect of this is having a clear objective of expanding neural connectivity. When there is a neuroscientific insight behind the healing objective, transformative potentials profoundly expand. While expanding neural connectivity, the other aspect of this implicit transformation, especially important in trauma recovery, is to create new implicit memories in relation to fulfilled attachment needs. So we have two types of implicit memories. We have emotional memories and procedural memories, or body memories. So when we show up for ourselves and lovingly connect with our inner beings, when we fulfill our own attachment needs for ourselves, we create new emotional sensations that have the power to formulate new implicit emotional memories. When we do this on a regular basis, we create new implicit procedural memories or body memories. This process not only creates new data that has high vibrations of connectivity and just really powerfully improves the health of our neural wiring, but it also transforms past neural data even without directly accessing it, because it's being activated and rewired in every moment of every day. So moments where we're connecting with ourselves with love and with presence, where we're fulfilling our own attachment needs sensationally, connecting with ourselves on a regular basis, we are transforming implicit neural wiring or implicit memory systems at the core of our unconscious body-mind. Transforming implicit battles, especially with any kind of trauma recovery, involves expanding neural connectivity while creating new implicit memories in relation to fulfilled attachment needs.